Hello and welcome, I'm Ferhiwot. Last month, my guests and their colleagues at the Addis International Art Symposium brought together over 20 artists from Ethiopia and other African countries, as well as Europe, for a 10-day workshop. That is unlike anything we have seen before in this country. And they are determined to make this an annual event. Ferhiwot, Mulugeta, a very warm welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Addis International Art Symposium. How did it get started? I mean, having an idea is great, but putting that in place is quite a different story.
This artist, of course, the artist Amrat Sultan and artist Ali Kufli, being in different symposiums all over the world, having different shows and exhibitions around the world. They have had this experience, and as a country and as a city, we never had nothing like this before, connecting to art, bringing the international community together in our city, and actually exposing our young artists to what can be done through art. Has never been done before. So and as you know, our artists are not really supported in terms of curating and managing them. So these artists, through their experiences, they have actually came to the senses thinking, oh, okay, we have to really do something for the youngs, for the upcoming artists, and for the country. So that's how they wanted to contribute to the country through this symposium, and that's how the symposium actually was born, and it happened.
So it is partly to bring the rest of the world to Ethiopia, while at the same time reversing that trend and bringing Ethiopia to the rest of the world. Is that correct?
Exactly.
It's true.
Exactly.
So as my colleague, my team member Mule explained, the inception came from the artists, the two artists who took part in the art residencies all over the world. So they had experiences, but then there are few people, artists, or I can say young people in every other profession, get a chance to go out and get an exposure for the rest of the world. When you go there, you open up your eyes and you see how the other world is operating in arts or in other professions as well. So they came up. There are many people who go abroad and then take part in different trainings or professional experience sharing, but then you don't come back and you don't say what can I do about that. So they came up with an idea. Let's do this here, and then let's bring the rest of the world to here. Since we have difficulties taking our artists outside, so they came up with this idea, and then we followed. Why we followed? We are in a different profession.
You meaning the ones who are outside of that territory called the arts?
I personally am involved in organizing art exhibition here in Addis, also out of Addis, promoting young artists. Mule is in a tour in tourism, which brings all the team member, it makes it stronger. So we discussed, and then we came up with a plan. We collected team members who can make it practical. So, and then we started this.
I would have liked to have at least one of the artists that you mentioned here, but unfortunately they are busy doing something else. So how many of you, at the end of the day, how many of you came together?
So we came together, it was about 9 or 10 people at first, but then over the month everybody was falling apart, and
finally you ended up being how many?
5.
Yeah. So you created a team of 5 at the end of the day, and you incorporated a company of something?
Yes, Addis International Art Symposium was patented through different license under a bigger license. It was patented in.
There are 2 things to here, I guess. Number 1, it is mobilizing resources, being accepted and endorsed within the country. And the second one would be inviting artists to come here and doing that screening process and all that stuff.
Yeah, besides their experience being abroad and seeing how it was done, it was actually never been done here, and we never had hands-on experience on this thing. So that made it a little difficult. The second thing, of course, financially, nobody was able to support us. We understand because it was the first thing. Always, it's not easy to actually take in a new idea and support it, especially in our community. So it takes a while for people to actually realize, see it, and say, oh, okay, we need to support this. This is something that can bring our country up, bring people up. And so we understand it's going to take some time, but even through that, as Ferhiwot just said, you know, we had passion, and we wanted this brainchild to be born, and we wanted to raise it. So yeah, we are happy. It's born.
Yeah. So see, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the details of the whole exercise, i.e., how did you identify potential participants at this symposium? Did you float that invitation?
So how it started is so from their experience, you know, when they went around the world, they have
your colleagues. Yeah.
Yes, they have met a lot of artists. So that's the core people that they started with.
Which means invite them to Ethiopia.
Yes. Because the total number of people, artists that were invited, that were the participants, was 21. So, and they all came together from 14 different countries.
All the 21 participants that you invited came to Ethiopia?
Yeah, so 5 people were from this country, from Ethiopia, local artists, but the rest were from 14 different countries. So
so there was some screening involved?
Yes, so some of them were already known.
So you basically did was invite them?
It was easy. So first, I mean, there was a screening process because we had to send invitation first. They have to accept it, and then they have to send their work, and it has to be examined, reviewed.
By a committee that you've created, or
yes,
by your team?
By the artist committee. And then after that, whoever work was fit to be in the symposium were selected, and then whoever accepted, and at the end, after the screening was selected, were invited to be here. And then yeah, luckily all of them were happy to be here.
It was quite a diverse participation, right? There were women, there were young people.
There were very senior artists, if I have to. There's one of the oldest artists in Namibia took part in this, a very professional artist. It's called Joseph Madisa. And the youngest also from Serbia, I think. She was the youngest, one of the youngest artists.
Yeah.
So it was a very diverse in terms of age, and in terms of also covering, like, from Africa. We had like 4 or 5 participants from Northern Africa, from the Southern Africa, and then from neighboring countries as well.
Yeah.
So
Europe and Canada.
Europe, Canada.
Yeah.
As it is a first international art symposium, we try to have as many as we can, but then it's a resource limit to limit the numbers, and then squeeze it to a limited number of people.
Still went to the limit, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all in all, there were 21. 21. Interesting. So all they needed to do was buy their return tickets, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Buy a two-way ticket, and then...
And that's it, and it will be up to you to take care of them for at least 10 days.
Yes, 10 days.
I mean, you're really bold. I can see that, because you basically had nothing. Yes. That's where the challenge starts. I mean,
people were here from abroad, but even the people that were selected from our own country, Ethiopia, were treated the same.
In the same place.
In the same hotel.
Same hotel.
Yes, you have to feed them.
Feed them, and
And
the idea is...
And how much money did you have in the bank?
Actually, 0.
Zero. We
didn't have
zero,
anything.
yes.
I mean, at first we were really hoping people will help because giving the how big the idea.
Hope alone does not help.
So yeah, we were really hoping some miracle would just happen.
Just say, let's bring them and see what comes next.
And let's just see as it goes. And then the dates started getting closer and closer. We don't have money. I mean, we put in everything that we had at some point, and then it wasn't enough. It was really stressful. We went through some stressful times. Probably
stressful it was an understatement, I guess.
Probably
Yes, yeah, it's
yes.
true.
Yes.
As I told you, it's the positive minds and the ambitious and our passion kept us to the beginning up to the end. So we hoped that people will like this idea, and starting from the stakeholder, I mean from the government institutions to NGOs or private people we hoped that they will like it and they will endorse it. But then it didn't happen, so we had to do what we have to do. We already sent out invitations. The days are coming up, and it's already... and the people started sending tickets already. We told them, okay, your works are selected. You are the participant, you are the participant of the first Addis International Symposium. Once we sent out that, and then they started sending us tickets immediately.
There was no going back.
There was no going back. So it's either cancelling the whole thing or push and see what we. So the last date, the deadline for the applications was 12 February. So that was the application in, and like half of the people, the participants, sent out tickets already, return tickets. So there's no going back. So we had to push for what we did. One thing we tried to do was push the dates, and then we postponed the beginning of the symposium. We postponed it for 1 week. It didn't help. So we had to go. So there was no turning back, and then it happened.
So there is very few individuals, Ethiopians, and institutions that have helped you, right?
Yes.
But not that many.
Not that many.
To help you, navigate seamlessly.
The least expected ones, yeah.
So you organized the workshop at the Addis Ababa Museum, which was quite a pretty spacious. Unfortunately, I was not there to watch it, but from the pictures that we have, it was quite an amazing kind of workshop, right? What did you exactly do? I mean, I know that all these people had to produce. How many paintings each?
Each of them had to produce two paintings through the creative process. And the general program in the Addis Ababa Museum was composed of workshops, master classes, and followed by the exhibition in the Skylight Hotel. So through the creative process, the artists were having experience sharing with the local artists, with visiting students from different art schools, also from local primary schools. And also there was master classes by senior artists from the participant and outside of the art community.
Which means here in Ethiopia,
Here
basically
in Ethiopia,
Ethiopians.
Yes, basically Ethiopians, and the participants who have been who took part in the master classes one of them was Desta Hogos, one of the senior, actually the first Ethiopian female contemporary artist, and the second one was Saye Gabramedin, the art historian, and from abroad was Joseph Madisa, the Namibian artist who is a senior artist in graphic, and he has his own technique that he created, so he was very happy to share it to the students who have been taking part in the master classes. So this was the the general view of what was happening in the Addis Ababa Museum. And then the outside, they were working. They each have their own space.
Out in the open, the museum
in
compound.
The open air, yes. And then there's an amazing view of the city, and then of course being outside when you're painting is, as an artist, is one thing that you need in your
Definitely, it was great to have that space for them to use it for the workshop. Definitely, we should thank Addis Ababa Museum very, very much for giving us the space, letting us use it. All the participants were very happy with the space that they had to work, and they were inspired. You know, they had the whole city in front of them while they were working, and also, you know, well, on the workshop process, it wasn't only. The program was not only in Addis Ababa Museum, that they had other activities besides their work being in Addis Ababa Museum. We wanted to do it in a higher level, but as we said earlier, there was financial resource issues, so we had to keep it a little smaller, but still inspire them.
You mean make them get the real feel of Addis Ababa?
Yes, this historical city, of course. We wanted to give them a whole Ethiopia, but we couldn't, so we wanted to show them a little bit of Ethiopia at least. So we took them to tours to a couple of places. Of course, Mercado, in a couple of places, National Museum, local artist studios, you know, Int't, and a couple of places like that. So that gave them some kind of inspiration on their work. So most of them have put that in their canvases through their paints.
I've seen some of the paintings, the pictures that you shared with me. Yes, you can see that impression in their works. Yes.
Yes, being around them, you know, facilitating. Even though we're not actual artists, we got to be exposed to what they're doing and what the meanings of those paintings were. So we really understood the paintings now. You know, So
as an artist, it's, you need an inspiration for when you are traveling to a new country. Most of them are new. Even for Africa, most of the, I think the ones who traveled from Eastern Europe, most of them, it's very new for them to come to Africa to see black people even. So you need an inspiration when you come to this country, when you come to this continent. So we took them to the real places, like, as he mentioned, Mercato, Fandika is one of the spots that were very inspiring for most of the artists. As you see,
this is where they showcase Ethiopian music,
exactly,
and dances and display of quite a cultural thing. Yes,
where you find many of the expats. So this made all the participants very much, I mean, they were so happy, and they were so touched with the hospitality and with the whole group, the whole team work, and then it was very quite.
I would say they were extremely happy, actually. So as we said earlier, there was older artists that had a lot of experience, that's been to different symposiums around the world many times, more than 100 symposiums. But most of them have actually said through their words that this was the best symposium that they have ever been.
Why was that? Is that a combination of that experience and so on? Because you didn't get them even outside of Addis.
So yes,
out of Addis.
It was crazy, yeah. So I believe, you know, it was very difficult for them to express it like that too, because they were very happy the moment they got here. It probably is one, of course.
They knew that you were short on money. That was
they definitely understood that it was open and they saw it definitely, but. I think they have seen how we're doing these things and how we're trying to accomplish it. That's one. The second thing, how open and free they were through their work. It wasn't really a business kind of thing. More of it was a cultural exchange and experience sharing kind of things, and it was probably is out of the experience for most of them, what they have seen on their tour, and how they were inspired and how the whole thing is organized. Probably that's what I think made them say these things, but most of them did, and that's more than a payment for us, and I'm very happy about that.
I'd say most of them. I mean, you can, as he said, they had an experience of going to up to 50 countries, and many of them, of course, in Europe, in the States, in very developed countries other than Africa. So they had a 5-star menu in their previous experiences, but then nobody gave them their heart and nobody gave them their time. But here, since morning up to bed, there are people taking care of them. And then if you don't have a hotel, we took them to our houses, and they were feeling like a family. So if there's no food, we tell them, come and cook with us, and they even washing dishes with us. So this makes them to feel like home. I think this is what kept them so happy, extremely happy. And then
so you put together this exhibition. Seemed a very well curated one. And folks came and visited, right? It was
about probably 200 or more people that was visiting us. On the opening.
The opening evening. Yeah.
It was very successful because we didn't expect that much. Because how busy we were. I'm sure everybody in the team did not sleep more than 3 or 4 hours for like 3 months straight, because we were every day running around doing stuff. So it was just too much on our hands, so we couldn't do everything at the same time. So we only invited people, in the time that we can invite. And we forgot a lot of people. We forgot to, there was so much that could be done, but we just didn't have the resources and the time and the energy. So we just did what we can, and people just showed up and they just showed their support, and we were very happy at the outcome too. It was just, even the participants did not expect that much, and people that actually came did not expect that kind of work or that kind of organization and that kind of outcome. They just thought, it'd be just another art exhibition. That was the expectation that they had, but they came there and they went back mind blown, I would say.
So what are you going to do with those paintings that have already been produced and exhibited?
Originally, as the experience of the artists, our team members of Mulugeta and Tamra Sultan, when you go to other countries, this kind of symposium is supported by institutions like museums and cultural ministers and foundations, because they know what the value of the art is. Well, when you come here, it's a different story. So we were planning to give it to the museums, to the palace. Now we have a new opening for... So that didn't happen. So what we do is we're going to continue the exhibition in different venues.
You mean outside of Addis?
Could be outside of Addis, in Addis as well, because it didn't get a chance to be visited as many as...
I did not visit it. So.
Exactly. So we want them to be seen, to be visited by different people. So could be in Addis, could be out of Addis. So we will continue until the next symposium.
So this is going to be an annual event?
Yes. Before that, I want to add something on that. So the next step is going to be the catalogue of the symposium. we're gonna have all the profiles and what we did and how it was, you know.
Do you have a Facebook page already? So
We do, but it has to. It's a formal way to do it. So we have to prepare this catalog and get it printed.
Yeah.
Each participant artist has to get one. Some of the libraries in the city has to get the government offices, different probably embassies of the participants and all that. So that has to be done next, and when that's done, there will be another exhibition for the catalog, also another opening. So we want to reach out to people. Of course, we again need help on getting this prepared and printed and get it out to wherever it has to be. So we need to and we want to let people know to help us on this if they're hearing us out there right now.
I hope they will.
Yeah, and yeah, after that, you know, it will be open again and people will see it, and you'll definitely be invited.
Thank you for that. So the next exhibition, the next symposium is going to be
a year from now, so it will continue. It's an annual event, so I hope the challenge we had is not going to be in the same one like this one. You know, you bring an idea, you give you have a child. That child will be a society's one of the society members. So this thing, somebody can start it, but then we are not going to be the owners of this. The owner is the people. Now we brought one international art scene to Addis, as we are a capital city of Africa.
And when the city needed it most.
Yeah, so we didn't have one. I think we have one international photo fest but international art symposiums or international exhibitions, it's the first one. So this is going to be not our baby, it's going to be everybody's child. So we're going to continue annually this.
Yes. So, you know, other countries, not only one, they have multiple different type of events like this connected with art. I mean, art brings people together. Art promotes people, cities, countries. You know, art can bring a lot to a country. So they knew that, and they've been doing this for a long time. Different countries in the world. So we have to make this better. We have to do. I mean, this is gonna be annual, but of course, there has to be more. This shouldn't be the only one. It should be a better one. It should be a lot of this that can promote our country, that can bring tourism here. You know, that can actually promote our people and country. Of course, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for being innovative, resourceful, and daring to bring this to put together this symposium and exhibition. It was really a fantastic intervention, and we wish you all the best and see you next year. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.